A very good evening to you, gentlemen and lady. Welcome to our Entrepreneurship Hour. The purpose of this session is basically to share insightful things about entrepreneurship. And the reason why also part of our college was invited is part of the things that are going to be discussed here are also important in your lives and also in your studies, right? So today our topic, it's actually the part two. You missed the part one, but it's still okay. It's customer experience and brand building, how it's important to entrepreneurs, to learners, and to everyone. So my name is Coach Christine. I'm here today just to remind you that if you want to learn, right, you need to be receptive. Is it? Is to say that learning only happens when you practice what you learn. So after this encounter, if you all go back home and we don't change the way we do things and we still do things the same way, right, or we still understand things the same way, it means we haven't actually learned. So at this point, I'm going to hand you over to our esteemed guest speaker, who is Mr. Clement Mutembo, who is a very renowned speaker when it comes to sales, marketing, and customer experience, and is going to take us through today's session. So over to you.
Thank you once again. So tonight's session is a follow-up to the presentation that we made last week. So not last week per se, but the other week, when we did part one. Now, just to quickly give a recap of what we covered last time, in the interest of, sharing a few things to those that may not have managed to attend. So we spoke about the concept of customer experience. So customer experience has become the modern term that has become so much popular worldwide to represent how the customer feels when the customer engages with the brand from the very first point of contact to the last point of contact. And we highlighted that the full range of encounters the customer moves from the first point of contact to the last point of contact is nowadays termed the customer journey. So the customer journey is the whole range of encounters the customer is going to go through as they deal with us, as they engage with us, from the first point of contact to the last point of contact. So it is within that customer journey that someone, the customer, can experience pleasure, satisfaction, happiness, relief. And all these positive emotions are called customer pleasure points. And we have negative emotions that can be evoked on the journey as someone is moving, such as disappointment, frustration, confusion, dissatisfaction, anger. These are called customer pain points. So on the customer journey, the customer will experience any of these emotions that we have, picked up. And as the customer is moving from the first point of contact to the last point of contact, the customer is going to have a series of emotions, positive and negative. And it is at the end of the customer journey that the customer will then make an assessment of his or her journey to determine how he or she feels, based on the engagements and the interactions that the customer has had with the brand from the first point of contact to the last point of contact. And so, how the customer feels at the end of his journey dealing with you as a brand we said the ultimate and overall impression and the feeling that the customer will be having is termed final experience position. It is also called net experience position. So net experience position means the ultimate feeling that the customer is having after having gone through the positives and negatives on the customer journey. And so the idea of net is similar to the manner in which accountants compute profitability when they look at how much profit we've made. So the idea of net is that they are taking away all your expenses from your revenue, and you are arriving at your profit or loss position in a simplified income statement. But of course, in the context of customer experience, the idea of net relates to, an assessment or an analysis or, a comparison between the positives which have happened to that customer and the negatives which have happened to that customer as he or she was traveling on their path to their final destination. So this is the summary of what we touched on. So the subject was customer experience. So customer experience, it's a simple subject because it is all about the feelings and the emotions that the customer is going to have as he or she is traveling with you at different points of contact, on the customer journey until they get to the end. So it has an impact how the customer feels when the customer engages with you as a business. There's an effect and an impact on a couple of things. And you know it so well that the success of a business is twofold. There is competitive or strategic success of the business. We also have success of the business from the finances side. And when we talk about success of the business from the strategic or competitive side, we are talking about the improvement of the business in terms of its competitive position. When we say the business competitive position, we are talking about, such positions like market leader, which is the first position that you always find in a competitive market. And we have the second position, which is market challenger. This is a position that seeks to outthrow and outsmart the one who is assuming the market leadership position. Then the third position that we could ever have in a competitive market is a market follower. This is a business that is just following the trend, And so the idea that we always want to accept and entertain is that we want to become market leaders. Who doesn't want to be a market leader? So when you are a market leader, it means you have the greatest market share. It means you have the greatest awareness. People know you more than anyone else. You have the most customers, and you have the greatest business coming to you. So when you have a market leader, it means there are so many benefits that naturally accrue to you as a market leader. And so customer experience is one of the critical ingredients that someone will need for them to move from a certain competitive position that they could be assuming to one which is better. And in this particular case, we are talking about you could be moving from being a market follower to becoming a market challenger. And if you are a market challenger, you could be moving to becoming a market leader. And you know it from your strategic management that as the business is seeking to achieve its vision of becoming a market leader, there are a number of things that the business will have to do for the business to attain the market leadership position. Because ultimately, the whole essence of strategic management is to be able to achieve your vision and your mission and your strategy and your goals. So your vision is the foundational aspect that underpins and underlies all the activities and actions that you can ever do. I mean, if you are not the market leader, so your vision, you could aspire to become the market leader in your chosen industry. And so, one of the critical ingredients required for that vision to be realized is excellent customer experience. Because excellent customer experience, you know, it has a way in which it gives you more customers. And more customers are attracted to you because you are giving them excellent experiences. You're giving them excellent feelings. You're giving them excellent emotions. You're giving them, you know, wonderful feelings that come to them as a result of engaging with you. So if you have great experiences that you're giving to your customers, that has an effect of feeding into your strategic management aspirations. You cannot achieve market leadership position without having a robust customer experience system and the strategy in place. So the subject that we spoke about, which is customer experience, is a subject which is so pivotal, which is so fundamental, which is so critical to the realization of your vision of becoming the most preferred supplier. You know, I see a lot of vision statements that are framed at some institutions. They write, we want to be the most preferred supplier of stationery in Zimbabwe. We want to be the leading supplier of ICT consumables in Zimbabwe. So the moment you declare that you want to become the leader in a certain, you know, industry, what does that do? That you are actually, you know, triggering your systems to want to achieve the first position of dominance in that particular industry. And what does that mean? It means there is so much work that you have to do in a couple of areas of your business to make sure that you attain your goals. So yeah, that was last week's session. And I'm excited that we are getting into straight brand building and how it impacts on, how customer experience impacts on brand building. Because these two things are inextricably intertwined. You cannot build a brand without having great experiences that you are giving to your customers. Branding and customer experience are connected concepts. These are concepts which have a functional relationship which can never be separated. I mean, if you're going to become a brand that's so much powerful, somehow there has to be, you know, customer experience along the way. I mean, you cannot, unless you're going to become, because there is no brand which is going to become great if customer experience is missing in the equation. It's not possible. So customer experience is one of the key drivers of brand building, because customer experience, it has the magnetic effect of attracting customers to the business. It is a way in which it makes customers want to come to you more. And in the world of commerce and business, the more you have more customers, it means you are in real business. There are many financial and competitive benefits that naturally accrue to you as a result of good customer experiences. And you know, as a starting point, it's very critical for us to define the term brand, because there's a lot of confusion around the term brand. It's very important for us to give a formal definition of the term brand, because many people think a brand is a business, which is, it's not. Many people think a brand is a product. It's not a product. Many people think a brand is a logo. It's not a logo. Many people think a brand is a name. It is not a name. A brand is an impression in someone's head. A brand is the overall impression or the total impact from all that which is seen, from all that which is felt, from all that which is experienced by customers and other stakeholders around a business, around a product, around a service. This is what a brand is. So we'll take it again. A brand is the total impact or the overall impression from all that which is seen, from all that which is felt, from all that which is experienced by customers and other stakeholders around a product, around a service, around a business. This is what a brand is. So from that definition, you see that a brand is not something that you can touch. A brand is a mental entity. A brand is something which resides in people's minds. A brand is not something that you can see with your eyes. A brand is something, it is an entity which results from, which comes about the aggregation of various influences. So a brand is a cumulative aggregate of a number of aspects and factors that feed into it and that shape it. And these are the determinants that we are now writing on the board. So if someone comes to you and says, a brand is a product, they will have said something which is technically not right. A brand is not a business. A brand is not a name. A brand is not a service. Because a brand is not something that you can touch. A brand is intangible. A brand resides in someone's mind. When in the final analysis, a brand is a perception and an identity that is associated with a product, a business, a service. That's what a brand is. So if you say a brand is a product, there's something technically not correct, because a product is something that you could touch like a phone. But a brand is not the phone, the tangible. It's the impression that you have over the product. That is what a brand is. Are we good? It's interesting stuff. So we are now writing the elements that we should. But why should we ever talk about brand building? We should talk about brand building. Now, I'll give you an illustration to show and to exemplify the significance of brand building. Why brand building is critical. This is why we have to worry about this concept of brand building. So when we talk about brand building, we are talking about building what is called brand equity. Brand equity, it's a term in the marketing language which stands for the power and the strength that the brand has in the market to influence the behavior of consumers in a positive way, which results in adoption, of our products and services. That's the reason why we should worry much about brand building. So I'll give a very quick illustration. Let's say we have two brands. We have a brand A and brand B. So brand A is Coca-Cola, and brand B is some other drink. So if you choose 100 people from any part of the world, whether it's the United States of America, whether it's the UK, whether it's in Australia, whether it's in Epworth, whether it's in Belgium, no matter where you pick the 100 people from, your sample, if you choose 100 people and then allow them to choose the drink that they want between the two drinks, if you put a Coca-Cola here, you put another drink here, invariably, you will notice that the greater percentage of people will choose Coca-Cola. We could actually have something like 85% of those 100 people is going to choose Coca-Cola. And the remaining percentage is going to go to the other drink, which is in this case 15%. So does this happen on its own? It doesn't happen on its own. This illustration shows a global phenomenon, something which happens all the time if you want to try and test it. And the fact that the greater number of people is going to choose Coca-Cola is indicative of the fact that Coca-Cola has done certain things in the past which will get its brand chosen by many more people and lesser people choosing the other brands. So we use Coca-Cola because Coca-Cola is a great marketing company and you always want to learn from the best. I mean, even here in Zimbabwe, even here in Africa, we have brands that we can place as a way of example, and you'll see that the results will turn out to be almost the same. Whether we go to the, whatever funeral services providers, the results are almost the same. So, what causes Coca-Cola to have many more people and the other brand to have fewer people? This is where we explain aspects to do with marketing and brand building. So Coca-Cola has built its brand. That's what we can deductively say from this example. Coca-Cola has been building its brand over the years. Of course, the brand equity of Coca-Cola is a function of a number of things. And one of the critical factors and aspects which determines its high equity is the size of is the edge of the brand. It's been in the market for many years. That explains also one of the reasons why many people will choose it over some other, smaller brands. It's been in the market for a very long time. But yes, the fact that the greater quantity of people will choose Coca-Cola is one of the reasons why many people will choose Coca-Cola, because they are familiar with it, etc., etc. But the principles that they are applying are the ones that are very critical to learn from, because those principles are the ones that we can learn from. Those principles are the ones that determine and dictate why they are in number one position as far as drinks are concerned. So Coca-Cola will invariably attract many more people, whilst the other brands will have fewer people. And this phenomenon is attributable to a couple of things and aspects and factors and determinants. And these are the things that determine what drives the value of the Coca-Cola brand. Number one, we have this thing called brand awareness. Brand awareness. Brand awareness is the degree to which people know about you. Brand awareness is the degree to which people know about you. So if you go to Murambinda, if you go to Mzarabani, if you go to Vic Falls, if you go to Kenya, if you go to any other place that you may want to go, you will see that there's going to be a sign written Coca-Cola. So no matter where you go, whether you go to the rural areas, whether you go to Beitbridge, whether you go to Cameroon, Coca-Cola is very intentional about its brand awareness In other words, those guys are very particular about being known, which is why they would rather sponsor a billboard, a small sign that they put on each and every shop with their branding and with their signage. The idea is they want to be known by as many people as possible. And that is working wonders and magic for them, because brand awareness is actually one of the critical drivers of brand equity. So when we say brand equity, we're talking about the value and the strength of the brand in the market against other competing brands. So the pulling power of the brand, the power that the brand has to influence the behavior of the people, so that the people choose that particular brand and leaving other brands. This is what we mean by brand equity. And brand equity has these key factors and drivers and determinants that we are listing and explaining. So one of them is brand awareness. The more you are known, the more customers are familiar about you. And it means the chances of you being accepted and bought as a brand are very high, because if I'm familiar with a particular brand, chances are that I'll be a friend to it, it will be a friend to me, and I'm actually going to buy that particular brand when I see it, whether it's in a supermarket or whatever place. Because familiarity is a way in which it impacts on purchase behavior. Someone is likely to buy if he's familiar with a particular brand. I mean, I want you to go into a supermarket, you see a list of brands, soap brands. There's Geisha, there's Lux, there are many other brands. Chances are so high that you will buy the brand that you are familiar with. Isn't that correct? Chances are very high. But for that to happen, the people that are behind the brand are supposed to do a lot of investments in terms of getting the brand to be known. And that's where the magic is. Consistent messaging and communication to different target audiences, target markets, to get people know about you. And one of the most exciting things as well under brand awareness is a concept called the consideration set. The consideration set. Consideration set. Now, so the consideration set, it is the list of brands. It's the set of brands that pop into someone's mind when someone wants to make a purchase decision. Typically 2 to 5 brands. For example, if someone wants to buy some drinks, there's some brands that will immediately pop into that person's head. What are some of these brands? Coca-Cola, Revive, Cascade, Pepsi, Liquid Fruit. But the interesting, phenomenon is that there is a multiplicity of drinks which are available on the market. There's so many drinks on the market. Hundreds and hundreds of drinks that you find on the market. But when it comes to making a purchase decision, the customer has a certain, set of a few brands that pop into his head. That set of brands is what is termed the consideration set. These are brands that the customer gives serious consideration if they want to make a purchase decision. And they will select the brand of choice from that set. So the idea behind branding is that you be found in the consideration set. If someone wants a college to learn from, there has to be some brands that pop into Spaces College. I mean, I'm not saying it's the best. ICMF. These are brands that pop into people's minds when they want to make a purchase decision as far as learning is concerned. So the consideration set It's a very critical concept as far as brand awareness is concerned. But of course, it's very important for us to also highlight that the concept of brand awareness can be understood on two dimensions. These are A, brand recall, B, brand recognition. Brand recall is the ability of the customer to remember, to recall a brand in the list in a certain product category. So if I say soft drinks, which one comes to your mind? Coca-Cola. If I say dairy juice, Cascade comes to mind. Even Revive, I don't know whether it's still there. Revive is still. If I say hotels, you think of Mikos. You think of Rainbow Towers. But do you know that there are some smaller lodges that are there, but people, they cannot recall them. So the whole essence and the whole end game of marketing is that a business should fit in the consideration set. And when the customer wants to make a purchase decision, because everything is about when the customer wants to buy, where is he going to buy from? What is he going to buy? That is the greatest question. So marketing now seeks to go like backwards and find out the aspects and the things and the factors and the forces that will make the person buy, and then start working from there, like advertising, promotions, all these things. That is what it is. So in the case of Coca-Cola, we know it from way back. You know, when I was born, way back. I mean, we used to buy. Our uncle came one of the days, and he took us into his car, 1986, and we went to a place where we had some very excellent, cold drinks. The guy who sold those drinks to us had very excellent customer service, and the drink was so effervescent. I remember it so well, and that's when I started becoming aware of the Coca-Cola brand from that time. And from that time, it's a brand that I've resonated with so much because of the value that it gives me and of the experience that it brings to me. So from that time, I've always enjoyed having it. And I can tell you for a fact that in the long term, I will continuously be taking the Coca-Cola brand, because Coca-Cola, and one of the exciting things about brands is that a brand has to be having certain attributes, what are called brand attributes. When we talk about attributes, we're talking about those characteristics that will make the brand be of value to you. So a brand must be defined by certain characteristics. Like in that particular case, Coca-Cola brings refreshment. It's an attribute that it brings. Refreshment and enjoyment. So if you're going to be selling bricks, your bricks should be known to be the quality that you want or the attribute that you want in your bricks. Durable. Durability should be an attribute that is a characteristic of your brand if you are a company that's going to be manufacturing bricks. If you're going to be making bread, the attribute and the quality that needs to be associated with your brand is that of freshness. Freshness, which is why you hear a baker saying fresh. They're trying to tell you that we are all about freshness, and they want freshness to be associated with their products. And so this is the first driver of brand equity, brand awareness. And the second thing which drives brand equity is called brand associations. Brand associations. By brand associations, what we mean is what comes into the mind of the customer whenever he or she thinks about you, or whenever he or she hears about you, what he associates you with. Those are what are called brand associations. What the customer feels in his or her heart, and what comes into their mind, their thoughts, their feelings, and their perceptions. That is what brand associations are all about. And the brand associations and the brand attributes are actually the foundation for brand associations. In other words, the characteristics and attributes that you are known for are the foundational building blocks to associations. In other words, whatever characteristic or quality you are known for, it is the one that lays the foundation for whatever it is people are going to think about you. We know the Cobra floor polish. It's known for, ladies use it to shine some floors. It is an attribute of shining, which is why you see someone who is making another type of a floor polish, calling his Cobra. The idea is they're trying to ride on brand equity, which has been developed and built over time by another entity. That's what they'll be trying to do. So the moment they say Vim, tukutengesa Vim, avasi kutengesa Vim ayo. Vari kutengesa imwe scoring powder. Asi vari kuiredza kuti Vim, because vakaona kuti Vim ndo inokurumidza kuzikanwa nevanhu. People are aware of Vim. People are aware of Cobra. So the ladies who go around selling other types of floor polish, they call it Cobra because they want to ride on the existing equity, brand equity, which was developed by Cobra. Even Jurao. Kunzi toita ma Jurao. Pamba penyu pane Jurao ere. Apana. So Jurao was one of the earliest companies to make some precast walls. And those precast walls, became, the term, Jurao became synonymous with precast walls. And therefore, anyone else who is coming up with a company that does precast walls is now calling them Juraos. But of course, you will know it from your intellectual property law, that if you use another person's name without authorization, it's actually an infringement of that person's intellectual property rights. And in this particular case, it's an infringement of their trademarks. Because it's someone else's trademark. A trademark is a legally recognized and legally registered mark, which can be an actual mark, can be a symbol, it can be a word, it can be a jingle, whatever it is. There are various things that are used as trademarks. And it's very important because trademarks, they actually become assets that have commercial value, which you can actually license to other entities for them to use and for them to exploit. So your trademark is something that you can actually, license other entities so that they can actually start producing whatever it is that they're producing under the use, the rights that you've given them. So on a commercial kind of an arrangement. So once the trademark has accrued some value, it gives you so much, commercial value in the sense that some people may want to actually use your trademark, and even yourself, you get so much benefit because your brand will be protected by that trademark, and it dissuades people from using it because it's your legally acceptable asset that you've created and you've worked for some time. So there's the legal side of things, there's the marketing side of things, which there's the commercial side of things, which everyone in business will need to understand. So that's brand associations. So the customer experience that we were talking about is actually one of the aspects that is a foundation to brand associations. Because whatever someone is going to experience when they are dealing with your brand will determine what the person is going to think, how the person is going to feel whenever they hear about you. That is what we mean by brand associations. What you are associated with in the mind of that person. Because if someone defrauds me some money, maybe 1,000 US, the moment I hear their name, am I going to be happy? I'm not going to be happy. If a prophet, promises you something, or if they defraud you, if you hear their name, are you going to be happy? You're not going to be happy. Am I correct? Yes. So you'll have negative associations. So associations can be positive, they can be negative. And of course, the third thing, which is also a key driver of brand equity, is this thing called brand loyalty. Brand loyalty is about the certain natural tendency that customers have towards a particular brand in the midst of other competing brands. So the natural tendency that people and customers have towards a particular brand to choose it in the midst of other brands, in the midst of other competing brands, that is what is termed loyalty. So if customers are choosing a certain brand, when we have other brands, that actually pushes the equity of that brand. That's why, you hear someone saying, loyalty is a very powerful thing. Because when you talk about loyalty, when someone has become so much loyal to something, they somehow kind of like stop thinking, if I can put it that way. If someone becomes loyal to a prophet, they become so much loyal to an extent you can never tell them anything against that person. No matter you're telling them this person is like this person is like this, they become, which is why you hear someone saying, Takatenga Mbappe. Takatenga Mbappe, ndakabona kamga clip. Anzi Takatenga Mbappe, so someone was sleeping on a certain bed, okay? Paneka one plate stove, kangagari mumbamaki. Pakanyorwa paside kunzi. Takatenga Mbappe. Ndiye anga achitaura. Akarara zvake. So he was saying Takatenga Mbappe, iye ari buhari room. In fact, anga asina kurara pabed, akakarara pasi. Neka one plate stove pakati. Anzi Takatenga Mbappe. Do you know what that tells you? Ari kuti Takatenga Mbappe because ane loyalty ku team yake. Chiri chinonzi loyalty chiri so powerful. So if a brand has so many followers that are loyal to it, doesn't that increase the value of that brand? It increases the value of that brand. Because a brand cannot be powerful if it does not have many people that are loyal to it. A brand is going to be more powerful the more people are loyal to that brand. So the concept of loyalty is a very practical concept. I mean, look at Alec Macheso. If Alec Macheso is playing in Marondera, some people drive cars from Harare to go to Marondera. Isn't that loyalty? That's loyalty. Chris Brown. If Chris Brown is playing ahead of a certain lady, I'm going to jump at Chris Brown. Achikisa Chris Brown by stage. Pakaenda ku South Africa. But munhu akatororwa ane murume wake. Ari kunojambira Chris Brown. Do you see what loyalty does? Ari kunojambira Chris Brown. And achinomukisa padama. Because angarohwa nemusic ya Chris Brown. Chris Brown, mfana hana kumira musha because anaimba kampana Chris Brown because akauya ku South Africa amene anika mkasunga akaimba mazuva anaya anzi chi kamka aimba so chimona achitamba achita zvaanenge achiita ina handigoni kutamba. But we are explaining the concept of loyalty. If someone has become so much loyal to something, the person kind of like goes towards that thing without a lot of thought. That is what happens. If someone is loyal to their wife, chero mukadzi wacho akataura zvisinei kunzi baba tino vanokumbirawo ka screwdriver spanner number 3 unonzwa murume wacho atorora mirai ndimbonzwa maitino kuti vanobvuma here pari kutaurwa just a wheel span yekubvisisa mavhiri emotikari, which ordinarily should not have approval from the wife, but you hear the wife saying you hear the husband saying mirai timbonzwa kuti amai vanobvuma here. That is loyalty. The person is loyal to the wife. I'm not saying it's a crime. I'm just saying we're just explaining the concept of loyalty. So it's very important. So whenever we are, and then of course the fourth thing, which pushes brand equity upwards, is this thing called perceived quality. So the brand, if it's going to be seen as a great thing, there has to be a perception of greatness towards that brand. This is what we mean by perceived quality. So perceived quality is one of the critical determinants of brand equity. So a brand has to be seen to have high quality. That's how people will naturally gravitate to it, and that's how people will have positive associations around that brand. And so, what are we going to be aiming at when we do brand building? When we do brand building, we are aiming at creating some favorable perceptions. We are aiming at building an emotional connection with a certain target audience. So emotions. We are aiming at strengthening our memory, because you have to remember a certain brand. Because if you cannot remember or recall a certain brand, then it defeats the whole idea. All the adverts will go to waste. So we need to be able to remember. So brand building is about creating memories. Brand building is about inducing action. Even if you remember something, you have to take action towards that particular thing. Take action in terms of purchasing, action in terms of buying a particular product. So this is the whole end game of brand building. You want to build powerful perceptions. You want to create an emotional connection with your people, with your customers, with your target audiences. You also want to create powerful memories with whatever it is that you're going to be doing. And you also want to stimulate and elicit and evoke some actions, favorable actions, that are going to make people, adopt your brand. But of course, you also want to, in addition to the perception that you're building, you also want to build an identity. In addition to these other aspects. So, brand building is about building perceptions, is about building an emotional connection, is about building powerful memories, is about making customers take some action towards your brand. And for you to build a powerful brand, these are the things that you need to work around. brand awareness, doing a lot of activities and actions to get yourself known out there. And nowadays, the name that's now being given to the different tools that are used by companies and organizations and businesses to communicate value to different audiences, it is the term integrated marketing communications. Integrated marketing communications, it is the modern term, and the old term was promotional mix. Integrated marketing communications has 6 tools. These 6 tools, which are the following. We've got advertising, personal selling, direct marketing, sponsorship, public relations, and sales promotion. So these are the 6 tools that a business could possibly use to communicate value to its target audiences. This is what you use to create awareness. So finally, in the next 1 minute, in the next 30 seconds, building a brand is different from building a house. A house is something that you can see. That's cement. Those are the door frames. These are the people that are building the house. Okay, Dvana Madaka boy. Concrete. You are building a house, you are seeing something that you can see with your eyes. But if you are building a brand, you are not building something that you can see with your eyes. You are building something which is intangible, and the end game being to impact these things. You want to impact someone's perceptions. You want to impact someone's emotions. You want to impact someone's memories. You want to impact someone's actions. And when you do that, you make more money. I mean, people are choosing you. And a whole host of other things. Thank you guys, it's been absolutely great. We look forward to seeing you some other time. So I had 25 distinctions in my marketing studies when I did a degree in marketing. Thank you guys.